This video covers online allegations, rumors, and public reactions for commentary purposes only. None of the claims are confirmed facts.
Too much pressure on Tyler Perry. You know what I mean? He ain't put nobody on. The people that been in his productions, they not famous. All of them can walk through the mall without security.
Y'all, Hollywood just flinched. And this time, it wasn't because of a rumor, a tweet, or a leaked DM. It was because a pattern became visible. And once you see a pattern, you can't unsee it. The real question is this: what if everything you've been taught to believe about power in Hollywood is backwards? What if the biggest platforms don't actually elevate people, but instead use them up? What if fame isn't freedom, but containment? Tonight, a name is being whispered again, not shouted, not defended, just whispered. Teyana Taylor. And no, this isn't the polished fairy tale version the media prefers to sell. This isn't about talent alone, or timing, or the idea that success simply comes from working harder than everyone else. This is about strategy, about alignment, about who gets protected and who gets processed once their usefulness expires. According to what Katt Williams has allegedly been hinting at for years, Hollywood doesn't run on passion or loyalty. It runs on leverage. Relationships aren't personal. Breakups aren't accidental. And silence is the most expensive currency of all. Ask yourself why so many people pass through powerful systems and leave without real power. Why do the faces change, but the machine never does? Why do the ones who follow the rules seem to survive, while the ones who question them quietly disappear? This isn't about assigning blame to any single person. It's about observing who benefits, who stays quiet, and who continues to rise, while others stall or fade out. Behind the red carpets, award speeches, and standing ovations, there's a colder reality. One where ambition looks like romance, opportunity feels like rescue, and emotional moments become career turning points. Katt Williams isn't dropping names by accident. She's pointing toward a system one that rewards compliance and punishes resistance. A system where timing is everything, optics are currency, and people are replaceable. So before dismissing this as gossip or coincidence, ask the uncomfortable question. If Hollywood is really about talent, why does it keep producing? Control? And if this is all just speculation, why does the room get so tense when it's said out loud? Stay with me, because once this story starts unfolding, it doesn't stop at fame. It ends at power.
He be wanting the body, and you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did.
Hollywood is shaken again. Not because of a scandal that broke overnight. Not because of leaked footage or a courtroom filing, but because a pattern is being whispered out loud. This time, the name circulating the industry isn't shouted. It's spoken carefully, measured, almost nervously. Teyana Taylor. And no, this isn't the version of the story you've already seen. This isn't the glossy timeline. This isn't the press-approved narrative where everything is growth, healing, and the next chapter. This is the version people only discuss after the cameras are off. According to what Katt Williams has allegedly been pointing at, Hollywood doesn't move on love, loyalty, or even raw talent. It moves on timing, alignment, and knowing when to stay quiet and when to pivot. And that context changes everything. Because when Teyana Taylor's marriage to Iman Shumpert collapsed, the public saw heartbreak. Insiders, however, saw transition. Allegedly, this wasn't just a personal ending. It was a directional split. Iman, by most accounts, wanted stability, a family man image, a slower lane where legacy mattered more than expansion. Teyana, on the other hand, according to whispers that refused to die, was aiming wider, global reach, Hollywood penetration. Access beyond music. Katt Williams' framing isn't about blame, it's about misalignment. When two people want two different futures, love doesn't always survive strategy. The divorce happened. Fans watched Iman unravel publicly, but Teyana didn't collapse, she moved. That's when the industry began paying closer attention, because what followed didn't look random. First came Aaron Peer. Fresh face, British. Accents, serious roles, awards-coded presence. Hollywood insiders quietly labeled him next up. According to whispers, the connection between Teyana and Aaron wasn't framed as romance behind closed doors, it was framed as positioning. Not emotional, strategic. Katt Williams allegedly hinted that in Hollywood, rebounds don't always heal hearts. Sometimes they build ladders. But that chapter didn't last long, and when it ended, the pivot didn't slow, it escalated. That's when speculation went global. Leonardo DiCaprio. No confirmation, no photos telling the whole story. Just patterns. Fashion Week proximity, private industry circles, elite access that doesn't happen by accident. According to the tone Katt Williams conveyed, the implication was simple. When you've won locally, you don't stop playing, you change tables. Nothing proven, just raised eyebrows. And an industry that suddenly stopped pretending not to notice. Then came backlash. The film, the criticism. Accusations that Black women were being sexualized, visuals objectified, storytelling shaped by male perspectives. The audience expected resistance, a statement, a line drawn. Instead, allegedly, Teyana defended the project. She didn't challenge the framing publicly. She focused on awards, visibility, and momentum. That's when Katt Williams' alleged warnings started to make sense to some. In Hollywood, principles don't always pay, perks do, and silence often comes with benefits. Then a far heavier name entered the picture, Tyler Perry. Not as a villain, not as a savior, but as power itself, a system, a platform, a machine. At this point in the timeline, Teyana was reportedly exhausted, emotionally spent, fresh out of public heartbreak, and surrounded by sympathy. According to one version of events, that's when the Tyler Perry system opened its doors. Publicly, the narrative looked flawless.
That she's been able to do is really phenomenal. This woman, when I called her up to do the movie, she was like, "Are you?" Yeah, I think I did. But she killed it. You'll see what I mean. You will see what I mean.
On the surface, it looked like mentorship, praise, opportunity, and that's exactly how power prefers to appear. Critics argue that praise is often the softest form of control. When someone gives you visibility at your most vulnerable moment, it creates a bond that isn't written but is deeply felt. According to Katt Williams' alleged perspective, Tyler Perry isn't just a filmmaker, he's infrastructure. And infrastructure has rules. Follow the machine, and the machine moves you forward. In this version of the story, Teyana didn't enter the system blindly, and Tyler Perry didn't offer access for free. This wasn't exploitation in a dramatic sense. It was mutual leverage, visibility for relevance, stability for silence. No heroes, no villains. Just a system doing what systems do, but then the tone shifted. Once this alignment became visible, another voice resurfaced, one Hollywood has long learned to fear, dismiss, and quietly monitor: Jaguar. And when her words re-entered the conversation, the temperature changed.
And he did it by using stupid, ignorant, so-called Christian to fund all of his very homosexual behavior.
These are her allegations, not proven facts. Not confirmed claims, but they landed hard because Jaguar Wright has built a reputation for saying what others won't and making people deeply uncomfortable in the process. Her words reframed the conversation. Suddenly, Tyler Perry wasn't just power, he was controversy. And Hollywood doesn't panic over gossip. It panics over patterns that refuse to stay buried. At this point, the story stopped being about one woman's career choices. It became about a system that repeatedly places Black women in the same positions, hypersexualized, broken, or silently strong. When they play along, the system elevates them, but it never relinquishes leverage. Katt Williams isn't claiming Teyana Taylor is a villain. He's saying Hollywood doesn't reward innocence, it rewards adaptation. The tragedy isn't that people play the game, it's that the game rarely lets them leave. Today, Teyana stands in the spotlight, applauded, protected. But history has shown what happens when silence expires. One question lingers: is Teyana playing the game, or is the game tightening around her? Hollywood doesn't panic when rumors circulate, it panics when patterns align. By the second act of the story, something behind the scenes had already shifted. Phones stopped ringing the same way. Invitations became conditional. Conversations required trust before truth. Because once a system realizes it's being watched, it doesn't explain itself at repo aside tio when s. At this stage, the narrative around Teyana became unusually controlled. Public appearances were polished, messaging remained consistent. No emotional outbursts, no messy responses. In Hollywood, restraint is never accidental. Careers don't fall, they're managed. Damage isn't denied, it's redirected. Uncomfortable questions are buried under curated success. What makes this moment different isn't what was said, but what wasn't. No direct rebuttals, no confrontations, no clarifications. Just movement, projects continued. Doors remained open. Visibility increased. Critics raised eyebrows because momentum after controversy doesn't happen by chance. It happens when someone higher up decides the narrative still has value. Power doesn't destroy talent, it absorbs it. The silence around Teyana wasn't emptiness, it was containment. Survival depends on discipline. Say less, show more, never disrupt the machine lifting you. Recovery under a system always comes with terms, and those terms are rarely written. The conversation around Tyler Perry shifted quietly. Public praise continued, professional alignment stayed intact, but whispers changed tone. Not, is he powerful? That was never the question. The question became, what does that power require in return? Hollywood insiders say there are two kinds of influence, one that elevates, one that locks you in. Once you benefit from the system benefits from your silence. Break that agreement and you don't always get attacked too simply. Stop getting called. This is where the story stops being about individuals and starts being about structure. The same patterns repeat, not with the same people, but with the same outcomes. Emotional moments become marketing arcs. Pain is repackaged as growth. Trauma is reframed as resilience. Black women are expected to endure, adapt, remain graceful, while carrying narratives they didn't write. Speak out? Label, difficult, unstable, ungrateful. Most comply. Compliance keeps the machine running. What's haunting isn't what happens, it's what doesn't. No public reckoning, no accountability, no closure, just momentum. Momentum moving in the wrong direction is dangerous. Once the system decides you're valuable, it doesn't let go, it tightens its grip. There's no judge, no verdict, no sentence. You stay in line. The system keeps you elevated. Break the agreement and the floor disappears. Protection has an expiration date. Silence doesn't extend it. Applause feels rehearsed. Praise feels strategic. Success feels managed. Real freedom is messy. It's loud. This isn't that. This is containment with the spotlight. Systems don't require villains, they require compliance. People don't have to conspire, they just have to benefit. Once benefits are tied to silence, the system sustains itself. Stories don't end with explosions, they end with absorption. Narrative closes around the person at the center like a well-designed cage. Comfortable, luxurious, invisible. From the outside, it looks like success. From the inside, it feels like restraint. Truth becomes inconvenient. The public moves on. The system wins. The person inside faces an impossible choice. Keep everything or risk losing it all by speaking. Most choose survival not because they're weak, but because the cost of honesty is unbearable. This story was never about one relationship, one film, one platform. It's about how power circulates, silence is monetized, and survival is marketed. As success, Hollywood fears disruption more than exposure. Disruption doesn't come from whispers, it comes from voices that refuse to be managed. Some games don't have winners, only survivors. And in a system built on leverage, survival always comes at a price. The spotlight stays on, the machine keeps moving. Beneath the applause, a silence remains heavy, deliberate, telling. The hinted a spy story doesn't end. It disappears into the system like so many before it. Absence is louder than any allegation. The system waits, emotions burn out, attention drifts. And your silence was never respected, it was expected.